All right, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining. We're going to go ahead and get started to be mindful of the lunch hour today, but people will continue to trickle in. My name is Laura. I am currently volunteering as the co-director of the IIDA Cleveland Akron City Center, and myself and Hallie, our fabulous director, are so excited that everyone is joining us today. We think it's going to be a very engaging and inspiring program. So thank you for making time to support us and to support this event. Today, we will be highlighting 6 of our Design Award winners from last year's IIDA Cleveland Akron iDesign Awards. And we're really excited to hear from them. A few housekeeping items before we get started. First things first, we love to see everyone's faces, but if you could keep yourselves muted for the duration of the program so we can focus on hearing from our awesome panelists. We're going to try very hard to keep each presentation to 5 minutes to be mindful of everyone's lunch hour and have everyone back to work by 1. If you have any questions or comments for any of our panelists during the program, please drop them in the chat box. Hallie will be monitoring the chat box for the program, and we will get anyone's questions answered at the end of the program. We wanted to shout out a few upcoming IIDA events happening in the next few months. In April, the Ohio-Kentucky chapter will be hosting their Friday Forum event on Friday, April 9th. In June, we are very excited to bring back our Vocon trade show. We had to take a year off last year, but it will be back and better than ever this June 17th. And last, but certainly not least, we will be hosting a Design Awards ceremony this September. We're excited to use this program as the first kind of kickoff to Design Awards season. You will be certainly seeing a lot more come through about Design Awards in the next coming weeks and months. But keep your eyes peeled for that. If you have any questions about any of our programming or what we have going on as a city center, please email us. We're always happy to get everyone involved that we can. Also, we will be recording today's presentation and uploading it to our YouTube page. If you or anyone else you know could not make it today and want to refer back to it, that's where it will be. We also want to give a huge thank you to our 2020 and 2021 IIDA Ohio-Kentucky chapter benefactors. We have a hugely supportive group of benefactors that have stuck by us every step of the way, and they truly make all of our programs, including this one, possible for us. So thank you to all of our benefactors. And without further ado, I'm very excited to introduce our first category winner. It was our large corporate category, and this award was given to Vocon for the design of Floor 21. We're very excited to welcome Richard Dillon, who will be speaking on behalf of the project team. Dillon, Richard, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you very much. I don't know if it's good to go first or last, but we're going to give this a go. So Floor 21. Let me see if I can advance this. Here we go. Floor 21 is a project in New York City. It's the flagship for one of our largest clients, who's a professional services firm. We're currently in the middle of a 1 million square foot renovation with them. And this was one of their key floors in the space. The client has probably 10,000 people on their campus, and everyone is 100% mobile. So this floor opened up in May of 2018 as kind of a beta test for them of creating more of an individual and collaborative environment that they thought that their employees were yearning for, other than like a private office, a conference room, and a workstation. So this is kind of the start of sort of a whole new design language for this firm. some of the features that I can point towards, we have the main elevator lobby. To the north, we have a guest services area and a floor concierge. So if there's any need for anything, we have a concierge that runs the whole floor. There's an interconnecting stair that we put in that connects to all their training rooms and their IT help desk on the floor above. Then there is a whole bunch of different types of collaboration spaces sprinkled through the floor that anybody at any time could come and use. And then there's some unique features. So on like the southern portion of the plan, we have a full service barista and grab and go function. So it kind of made this floor a destination place for employees. So instead of them leaving the building to go to a Starbucks and talk to people, they go down to this floor. There's also a game area behind here with some active work with some walk stations and kind of a cafe area. The area to the far left is a mindfulness and yoga studio in the space. So no laptops, no cell phones, no technology allowed. It's quiet time if you need to go in there for heads down space during the day. And then in the evenings, they have mindfulness and yoga functions. And then we have two large multi-purpose rooms at the north. They all open to each other and they also open to the space. So they host training during the day, but also large events for clients and employees in the evenings. And just going to the next. The story of the space, so our design language was inspired by New York City and the dynamic intersections of the city and the concrete jungle. So there's like black and steel used and dynamic forms of contrast of black and white, and also the company's brand colors, which are like this hot color palette. And then just a little piece to orientate some people on the images. This is an image looking to that concierge location and the staircase that connects this floor and that large training floor. One of the interesting things to note about all these photos is we took these photos on a, I want to say a Friday afternoon. These are all employees working in the space, how they're using the space. So nothing's like staged or anything. This was like real use. It's like, because we wanted to capture the space on how people are using it. The next photo is that staircase and that black and steel element, which we pulled from the New York design language. A couple more images of that staircase. And then this is looking from those big multi-purpose training rooms back towards the concierge. And again, the big challenge of this floor is because it was a lot of open collaborative space, was how do we start to break up the spaces in this large area to feel more intimate and personal. So we looked at that high contrast in the flooring and really interesting ceiling elements to start to define areas and give more intimacy in the space as you work around and give each of the spaces their own personality. This is another view past the concierge. And as you work around the floor, this goes to, starts to show kind of that design language of the blackened ceiling with the high contrast to the white, and kind of how those angulars and those perspectives of like the intersecting streets in New York, and this was the intersecting streets in our project, come together. The one big mural on the left was inspired by our concrete jungle theme. It was that big jungle leaf that we put on. This is the back of the micro market. This view is the view of going towards the cafe area. And then this is the view of the barista. So a full-scale barista, and they have sandwiches and some grab-and-go items here. It was the Brooklyn Roasters, so we did have a local New York coffee company actually do our barista with us. This is the view going towards the game area on the backside of the barista. And then more of the game area. So we have shuffleboard and the little hockey games, as well as electronic video games that connect to the screens on the wall. And again, this was like middle of day Friday, people using the space. The one guy on the sofa, he's like, am I gonna get in trouble? Like, I have my feet up, like, is my boss gonna see me? And like, no, we're cool. Like, we just want like images of like how you're actually using it. A couple images of the cafe. We did this really cool graphic on the wall, which is very New York centric, like what is a bodega, and kind of like the subway and things that only like people that are in the city kind of like glam onto, like the little jokes that are in there. The place behind this room on the left is the entrance to our mindfulness and yoga studio. This is one of the collaboration areas to the west of the plan. We use the client's logo as an inspiration for this area. So it was the color extrapolated onto the floor, onto the banquettes, and up to the wall, using their whole color palette. This is a view into the mindfulness and yoga studio. All these little chairs pushed to the side, and they can do different events in there. And that is kind of the walkthrough of floor 21. One thing to note is this was a LEED Gold project. So we did achieve LEED Gold. We do LEED certification on all of their projects that we work for them in the portfolio. The other thing is this project has inspired them to think about their space differently. So we have a project that we finished up right before COVID in LA. That is another take on this, one that is just finishing up in San Francisco. And as we start to work on new projects coming out of COVID with them, the majority of their space is going to look like this floor. If you envision this floor with some workstations in, they think that their future of their office is this collaboration, this type of space, not individual workstations, not individual private offices. People are coming in to do group work and to collaborate. I think that was my 5 minutes. I hope I didn't go over.
That was fantastic. Thank you, Richard. It is very cool to see employees organically kind of using the space, which is...
Yeah, that was like a big thing of the photos. We're like, I need to get photos of this. This is cool. Like, it was really cool to watch, go through the space every time we're there to see how people are using it.
That is very cool. Thank you. Our next category winner was the small corporate category. This went to Vocon again for Compass headquarters. And we're very excited to have Lauren Dennison calling in from New York, I believe, to speak on behalf of their project team. Go ahead, Lauren.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having us. I'm excited to share a little bit more about this project. We've done a lot of different offices for Compass over the years, and this was an exciting one in New York that our team worked on. And the project was within their headquarters space, and the company itself is a very high growth company. They grew very quickly, and the way it's actually a real estate company. So they do both commercial and residential real estate. So they have a mixture of some operations people at this location, but also they have the brokerage teams as well. And the way that they organize their teams is that they have, whoops, I'm lagging a little bit. There we go. They have both, teams of 2 to 5 different people that are focused on, residential brokerage. And they also have individual contributors. So in some cities, we have a lot of these little rooms like you see on the north side of the plan here, which are more team-based rooms. In New York, because they were growing so quickly, we did a lot of these open seats. And as a strategy to kind of deal with their growth, these two floors, 10 and 11, were focused on providing more individual seats that could flex and grow with the different team sizes changing very rapidly. And then we created a destination space on floor 11 that you'll see. On the entire north side of the plan, we had some unique architectural elements within this floor that we really wanted to celebrate. And this really took place of having a ton of little tiny team rooms for each individual team. And it serves as a destination for all those groups to meet together, have one-on-ones with each other, and to collaborate without having to, you know, cram into a small New York City coffee shop or somewhere else that's a little bit noisy. This is their dedicated space. So the floor plate is a little bit unique. We have this side elevator entrance, and we've organized both floor 10 and 11 and all the stack floors throughout this building, so that all the meeting spaces are kind of centralized around this core at the right-hand side. And then we have the workspace focused on the left side. You'll see both areas, we've split the workspace horizontally with some different central collaboration hub, destination meeting spaces. If you do need to have a more plugged in type of a conversation with someone, you're connected to technology. And then the entire north side of the floor plate, you can see, you come off of the elevator, you go into this little space that's right next to this rebranded fire stair. We were able to kind of repurpose that as some additional circulation so you don't have to use the elevators all the time. And then you go into this really beautiful open cafe space where you can grab a coffee with your team, grab lunch, and collaborate. So just walking through some of the images, Compass in general had a very strong brand presence. So it's always fun to work with them because they have this tick mark that you'll see that is their compass. And we have a lot of fun playing with that tick mark as a brand element, and we play with it in ways that we call wink moments. So it's a moment that you may not be in your face, but you see little nods to the brand throughout the flooring materials, the way we're positioning it, the way we're positioning and articulating materiality transitions. You start to see that tick mark repeated throughout the floor. In some of the little conference rooms, we have little compass north symbols, little wink moments that are unexpected moments that just make the space fun. This area in the middle is convertible. So if you do have a bigger event space, these chairs moved out and into the greater cafe space. And then you come around the corner and there's a variety of different nooks and crannies, and you start to see that tick mark repeated throughout some of these architectural elements in the space. But really a lot of different varieties of spaces, and we're using different levels of enclosure to create levels of privacy for you to have different types of one-on-one meetings or small group meetings. This is just another image of the booths and some other high top tables. We were able to play with the heights of all the tables to create different levels of intimacy and fit a lot of different meeting areas into a small area of space. This is just looking back over the cafe. You see this little wraparound banquette destination space that has the plugged in power. Another big challenge with this floor was providing power access so that someone can work here with a team. So all of these little areas are actually plug-in compatible, whether it's a floor core or under the little millwork bench, so teams can come up here and work and be productive for a longer period of time, a couple hours of the day, for instance. And then we also had a lot of fun with the ceiling in this area. So we had an atrium, like a little bit of a skylight that was above on this 11th floor space. And we really wanted to just not give it to the general workspace and give it to a more shared space and balance it out with some other fun elements in the ceiling that would kind of, again, create different levels of intimacy and make it feel like you're in a cozier space at each turn of the floor plate. So this is over the one side of the cafe. We did this hanging vine system with the lights integrated. And it was really important for these teams to get that sense of greenery and that sense of life pulled throughout the floor. So you'll see that both in the workspace and in these shared spaces, we've added a lot of greenery and plant life to invigorate that workspace a bit. And then the next image, you get a hint of that skylight, really bringing in some nice natural light, which is a huge thing in New York, to be able to get that natural light into your workspace. And we've organized that central collaboration hub, soft seating around that skylight. And then you start to get this hint of other little cafe and amenity spaces that we've sprinkled throughout the floor. The one on the right-hand side is actually the sister cafe on the 10th floor that matches the same kind of look and feel of the cafe on the 11th floor. Same orientation. These are just some pictures of their meeting rooms. So again, playing with that tick mark, the brand tick, and the light placement to give a little bit of interest and movement throughout those meeting rooms as you look at them along the sequence of the floor plate. And then you get a sense of those central collaboration hub areas, again, playing with different heights for levels of intimacy and different meeting purposes throughout the floor. Just another image of some additional meeting spaces. And another view of that central hub on floor 11, which this wood element that you saw in some of the previous images kind of carries into this more private workspace with a little breakout opportunity for teams to be more plugged in to that technology. And again, you start to see that articulation of the brand tick mark in some of the materiality on the floor and the ceiling. And that's it. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Lauren. Very interesting how you incorporated the branding. Once you mentioned it, I could totally see it throughout the space. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a fun element to play with. And, you know, just even for their brokerage teams, it's, you know, makes it a little bit interesting. You find these little kernels of like their brand mark, whether it's in signage. Sometimes we'd even do just like a little tick mark with a vinyl sign on the wall, just a moment to make it a little more special in each of the meeting rooms, and little kernel of fun in each of the spaces.
I think that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing. We appreciate you joining us. Next up is our hospitality category winner, which was awarded to K2M Design for the Marriott Key Center renovation. Thank you, Val, for joining us today. She's going to speak on behalf of K2M.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I could talk for hours on this project, so I will try to keep my 5 minutes. But it was just such a dramatic transformation and just a lot of sophisticated detail. So I'll just try to briefly touch on some of the key elements and just the layout of the design. So let me take over the screen. I don't know if I have control.
You should be good to use your key.
Now is it good? It's good. Okay. So this cover page reflects the great room in the front desk of the hotel. So this hotel space is connected to Key Tower office building, which is needed to take into consideration because the hotel lobby is the access point to all the amenities in the hotel space. So the restaurant, the Barber Shop, spa, fitness center, the meeting room, St. Clair Ballroom. So what we did was we designed oversized doors at the entry of the Key Tower and the hotel, kind of a sense of arrival or a portal or separation, if you will. And these doors are a combination of wood, metal, oversized door handles, and the metal rivet detail around the frame. And so a few things I want to point out with this image is that although it's really large in scale, this lobby space, we wanted to have we took the space and designed it to feel welcoming for guests of any size, utilizing a warm color palette with warm walnut wood millwork, highlighted with the use of rich textiles, natural stone, the mix of black and champagne metal materials. The stone slabs were hand selected by the client, which was important to him, and was engaged throughout the design process. So our client, his office is in Key Tower, so he was able to view the progress real time and would meet us on site, and just took pride in being part of the design and the appreciation to detail. So before I move on, this image here shows in the background behind the front desk is we work with a local artist on creating artwork that she drew a pencil drawing of the Cleveland cityscape because we want to have a sense of locality. But what she did was she integrated worn edges and created some, you know, fold lines and just gave a worn look to it to make it look like it was an old drawing that was found in an attic or a storage room. And so then we took that drawing and we printed onto oversized acoustical panels to help with the sounds in the lobby space. and then integrated metal and glass metal screen artwork in front in the foreground and illuminated it. And we just wanted to create a more intriguing artwork installation versus just straightforward literal Cleveland themed artwork. So we felt that that was a very successful art installation. For the next slide is showing a bit of a lag. There it is our design concept, which was a modern interpretation of the Gilded Age. So this was finely tailored bespoke craftsmanship, refined luxury, legacy of innovation, and pride of heritage. And so when we work with the Marriott brand, they're just really big on having a very distinct design concept. So it stands out from the rest of, you know, the hotels in the area and just kind of holds its own, but also gives a sense of locality. So our client was most intrigued with the refined luxury and envisioned the hotel to have that sense of elegance and elevated design. So the selection of rich materials, stone, wood, metal. So we wanted to achieve that timeless design throughout, you know, with the use of architectural elements and then in the millwork, and then we enhanced it with textiles and lighting features. So this is the existing condition floor plan. Real quick, I just want to point out that the front desk was hidden behind these big oversized columns upon entry, and it didn't give that guest a sense of arrival. They got confused on, you know, where the front desk was. And then it was also really congested during peak hours with the foot traffic going in and out of Key Tower. Also, the bar was enclosed. It wasn't very out in the open for the guests to experience. The gift shop was large and underutilized. And so what we did was created a large great room space, really capturing all this open area, bringing the bar out, really giving that, you know, inviting space for guests to use. Front desk was moved, so give a better sense of arrival upon, you know, the guests entering. Where the gift shop was, we took that space and created a pantry, which is kind of a grab and go, warm sandwiches, pizzas, you know, grab and go food type products, and then it had a prep kitchen. And then we introduced a barber shop, which was a client request. And so that was a great addition to the space. So this slide here, and just the remaining slides I show is, I put an inset of the before photo, which I always appreciate these. It really just kind of gives that dramatic before and after. But the main floor was the largest renovation kind of transformation. So this new great room space was transformed, you know, the dated lobby of just the really bright red, yellow, golds, and create a greater sense of arrival and a better flow for the guests. So the architectural features were designed to enrich the space using custom millwork, to create the walnut wood canopies above the bar and around the seating nooks, and it was anchored by those existing marble columns. So the space was transformed throughout the day to accommodate the guest needs. So all the lighting is dimmable to adjust based on the time of day, the variety of seating types and groupings, coffee height, dining height, bar height, as well as a mix of, you know, types of seating of lounge and dining, and just the thoughtful seating and table arrangements that were combined to conveniently located technology to plug in, allowing guests to have that dynamic area to work, dine, and gather while staying connected. Because the hotel guests, you know, over the years, we want to have them utilize the great room space. We don't want them to stay in their room. We want them to enjoy being out in this great room space, enjoying the bar, food and beverage. So that was something that was really important. And then this is just a view of that bar space. And so we have custom furnishings, curated artwork, decorative light fixtures were implemented into the design. We have the oversized wood canopy that was at the bar just to create a more intimate experience because the lobby ceilings were so tall. The cabinetry has sliding doors that, you know, to conceal glassware and liquor during the day, but just create that day to night experience that they're able to have the staff use. So the bar isn't just lights off and turned off for the day. It really could be used 24 hours. So you could have breakfast, you could do your lunch, you could really take advantage of that space. We have recessed dimmable LED lighting that was integrated into the millwork for more of a timeless approach. And then we just had some decorative lighting to help anchor some of the seating areas. And then we have large porcelain tile throughout. And then we have a metal detail that was in the floor, but then we also used some ceiling finishes to really tie in the space as well. And then this is the M Club. So this is Marriott's Concierge Lounge. And so this is right off from the lobby. And so this is elevated finishes, furnishings. It's all reflected in the design. Couple things to point out is that back tile is metal wrapped stone tile, which was beautiful. And then in the background beyond that is these horizontal windows that we used in acrylic with a texture within and illuminated. So it kind of created this little peekaboo experience that, you know, as guests were entering the hotel on the other side, it intrigued them to experience this M Club. This is the pantry. Just real quick, we just made big oversized sliding glass doors, really invite the guest into the space to kind of get a preview as far as, you know, what's offered. This is the barber shop. So the barber tenant is from Italy, and he really just envisioned the space to reflect rich finishes and materials and really want to have that sense of home. So we have reflective mirrored wall covering and a pop-up ceiling with a crystal chandelier and really fun tile, wood-looking tile floor that is great because it helps to conceal hair and, you know, all the stuff that's throughout the barbershop. So that was one quick little detail. And this is El Venetian. This is the restaurant space. So this was floor to ceiling renovation, just all new materials, high-end finishes. The client really just wanted that high-end look, custom furnishings such as the dining tables. I put a metal rivet detail on the edge. We have glass chandeliers that were fabricated in Italy. The acoustical metal ceiling we integrated to help with noise. We have blue marble flooring with a herringbone pattern, custom Exminster carpet. So we really went over the top on this space. He really wanted to have that really elegant look. And this is the ballroom. We actually went in and popped in and took a picture right before someone's wedding. So this wedding was more burgundy and gold themed, but what we try to do for the ballroom space and what Marriott's branding is to try to neutralize the palette, to give it more of a timeless feel. And also like how this wedding party was, is that, you know, whatever colors they go with is, you know, to kind of take over the space. So we have a great oversized graphic carpet pattern, and all the trim was painted out. And then we have these really great oversized chandeliers, which we nicknamed zippers, but they just took over the space in a champagne finish just to give it more of a timeless feel. This is the Vedas Fitness Center. So this was just more of an industrial modern feel with exposed ceilings. And this was the former pool of the hotel. And so it was converted to the spa, which is right off of the fitness. So we still kind of have that industrial modern, but it has a little bit more, you know, a little extra touch to it for being a spa. And then lastly is a St. Clair Ballroom. And so this was just a whole finish and furniture renovation as well. So we have Exminster carpet. We have a bronze cork metallic wall covering that's on the ceiling, new lighting. And then this is the pre-function space. So just some really great materials that we use. For instance, in the bar front is etched leather material, which was really fun. So like I said, I could talk forever on this project. So that's it for there.
Thank you, Val. I love seeing those before photos. It's definitely a very dramatic transformation. Okay. Next up is our education category winner. This was awarded to Sol Harris Day for Lake Elementary School. And today we're excited to welcome Regina, who will be speaking about the project. Let me just transfer the screen to you, Regina. There you go. I think you might still be muted, Regina.
Okay, there we go. So as Laura said, my name is Regina. I am an interior designer at Architecture in North Carolina. and today I will be talking about Lake Elementary. So real quickly, I won't dive too deeply into this, but essentially it's a two-story building, grades 2 through 6th grade for Lake Local School District in Hartville, Ohio. The project size is roughly 135 square feet, and we did achieve LEED Silver on this project, and we partnered with OFCC, so we partnered with the state to complete this project.
Regina, I think you're breaking in and out just a tiny bit.
Uh-oh.
Let me try to mute myself. Maybe that will help.
Okay, so the first thing we like to do as a firm when we begin a project is conduct a visioning session with the client. For a school, the client includes the administration, staff, students, parents, community members, and like I said, for an OFCC project, it would include the state as well. The 2-day session is meant to gather the priorities of the different user groups so we can refer back throughout the design process to ensure we're meeting those priorities. So for Lake, the top goals that came from our visioning session included flexibility, which I've learned is a pretty generalized term, but flexibility in facilities, thinking, scheduling, and curriculum, learning to happen in all spaces of the building, creating a lifelong sense of wonder and purpose, and respecting students' multiple intelligences by creating a variety of ways for students to learn. So that list of goals transforms into the diagram that you see on the slide. So the traditional idea of a classroom was totally flipped on its head. Gone are the long double corridors. Instead, we have a community where learning can take place anywhere at any time. So the hallways have been transformed into what we refer to as extended learning areas. So basically, it's an oversized classroom that's used for circulation and informal extensions of the classroom. So the image on this slide shows one of those ELA spaces. So you can see that the students are working in groups or individually, while the classroom beyond is doing more focused learning.
Regina, do you want to try turning off your video to see if your audio will come through a little more clear?
Thing. I'm just going to power through. So there is a real tendency for teachers to nest in their classroom. The administration at Lake wanted to move away from the idea that the classroom was owned by a teacher. So because of this, a variety of classroom types were created to encourage movement depending on the activities being taught. The majority of classrooms can be transformed into a team teaching atmosphere via an operable partition that's clad in full-height marker board. Clear garage doors connect to the ELA for easy access to spill out into the classrooms. And we know that technology is ever-changing, so after much back and forth with the district and our tech consultant, we ultimately landed on using a wall-mounted monitor in addition to a mobile monitor that's interactive for student use. And each teacher within the classroom has a sound amplification system to further help aid in their teaching for those students who might not hear as well. So over the course of my career so far, I have learned that furniture is the most challenging item for school districts. Furniture is a huge investment, so we want to make sure that the client is comfortable with that purchase because often it's a one-time chance for them. So early on in the process of Lake, we worked with the district to create these mock-up classrooms of furniture. So we had about 3 or 4 classrooms that were fitted with new furniture for students and teachers to test. So it's very well researched that students learn differently through audio, visual, kinesthetic, you name it. But the furniture also has a major impact on how a child learns. So for Lake Elementary, we have a variety of seating types to allow for student choice in the classroom. There's a combination of wobble stools, soft ottomans, mobile swivel chairs, standing height desks, stools, and a variety of soft seating in those extended learning areas. all of the furniture is flexible. So there's that word again, flexible. But it's to allow for easy reconfiguration and adaptation to the different activities that might be going on. Another very large concern for most teachers is student storage. So because the district wanted the ability to move, we had to limit the amount of fixed storage solutions on the desks. So instead, the student storage is a removable bin under each of the tables, and it corresponds to a mobile storage unit. So if they're moving throughout the day, the students can remove their tote from the desk and take it with them. The teacher's station is composed of a mobile desk and a mobile sit-to-stand to allow, again, for that easy movement around the classroom. And as always, we look heavily into the durability and warranty of all these items to ensure the client would be purchasing furniture that will last.
Regina, I think we may have officially lost you and your audio.
Can you hear me, Laura?
You're in and out pretty badly, but I think luckily your photos are stunning, and I think they do speak for themselves quite a bit.
Did you take control of it?
You still have control. Do you want me to just flip through your last few slides?
Yeah, if you could.
Okay.
All right, so this last slide is just to show that this is not a one-sided decision. And we reach out to the various users with periodic surveys. So the teachers, even the community members, we're reaching out to. And yeah, we'll wrap it up there.
Thank you, Regina. I love to see the color in the space. It's so beautiful. All right, our next category winner was the Public and Civic category. This award was awarded to HBM Architects for the design of the Orange Branch Library. We are excited to welcome Stephanie Shook today to present her project. Stephanie, you should have control of the screen.
Let me see. Do I have it now? Oh, okay. Sorry. Got it. Perfect. All right, great. Happy to be here and talk about the Orange Branch Library. This is a client we've worked with in the past, the Cuyahoga County Public Library System. We've done several of their branches, and one of the main things to learn about them is that they like to have a unique building for each branch. They don't want them to look anything like each other. And in this particular project, they were very concerned that we resonate with the community. This project, just a brief background, is a brand new building, 15,000 square feet, located in Pepper Pike, across from the Orange City Schools, the high school in particular, and next to the Orange Senior Center. One of the great things about this building, knowing that they want a unique building and to resonate with the community, the site is a beautiful grassy prairie plain. The vernacular, a lot of wooded area, lots of creeks and rivers. So we really played off of that aspect with the building itself. We tied the exterior materials, stacked stone slate, the wood accents, and timber construction, utilizing wood construction for the high bay area on the left, and large expansive windows. We really wanted to tie the building to the site and to the vernacular. And so we did this in the way of the materiality selections, excuse me, and the shape of the building. This is inside looking out that glassy window. So as you can see, the nature actually plays part of the aesthetic to the building, as well as the materiality, pulling the wood beams and columns in and throughout the facility ties the interior and the exterior together, utilizing wood accents in the shelving, comfortable, various types of seating. And one of the most important aspects of the space that might not be realized by the patrons is that it was designed for LEED certification. So we utilized a raised access floor system for the HVAC, airflow, the power, and the data. This had a twofold response to some of the owner's needs, because the library needed to be flexible and changeable. And so this floor system really plays into that need as they evolve, responding to community changes in needs, library services, and creating a large open plan helps to organize the space in a way that makes it very easy for the patrons to come in and see what they need throughout the library. Creating a visually organized space, utilizing the openness to strategically locate a service point that's easy to find, and for security and oversight for patrons coming in, as well as throughout the space. So it takes very few staff to oversee the space. Also zoning a big open space like this, we located the teen and the children into the northwest corner, and then the more focused adult areas to the south and to the northeast corner, utilizing the collection and study rooms to help mitigate the change in activity between, comfortable seating areas and more active play areas. This is the central service point. So as you can see, they can see throughout the space. It ties in very well with the various types of shelving, seating, and uses within the library. This is an area where we again tie in the slate stone, stacked stone, and a featured fireplace. This fireplace is on axis with the front entry. So coming into the building, those materials are very present from the exterior to the interior. You can see through the building to the fireplace, and it's again flanked by expansive glass. So again, bringing that nature and that prairie into the space. Also utilizing technology and access to power and Wi-Fi was very important to the clients. So incorporating that into the furniture for the various types of seating was another important aspect to the space. Demountable partitions was another play into that, underscoring that flexibility that the client really needs now and down the road as things change, and keeping it very clear, simple glass plays into the oversight for staff to keep the building secure. And again, no matter where you are in the building, you really take in that nature through the expansive glass you see in the background. Another aspect to this building too is the children's area. We went with a theme. We collaborated with the owner. They like to have a themed children's area in each of their branches. So we chose Aesop's Fable. So it brings in a lot of the animals found throughout the area into a fun way. That also still ties in with the aesthetic of the rest of the library, being a very open space. We wanted everything to really work well together. And that is my 5 minutes of Orange Branch Library. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate that you talked about the site really informing the design of the project, because you can absolutely tell that in the photos, which is fantastic. All right. Last, but certainly not least, is our retail and restaurant category winner. This was awarded to Vocon for the design of Saucy Brew Works. And we have Jason Burick with us today, who's going to talk about the design of the project. Jason, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Let's see if I have control here yet. Do I see a mouse? Maybe I don't need to see a mouse. Okay. Let's see if here we go. All right. Jason Burick, I'm from Vocon. This project, many of you probably know, it's a brewery that's located in Hingetown. And I think we finished this in early 2016. And this was the first location for this group of people. And since then, they have went on to produce 3 additional locations. And I think their 4th one is yet to open, but it's going to be opening soon in Detroit. So this was really an experiment for them in terms of, you know, can they make the business work? One of the partners was a physicist who decided to become a brewer, like in his mid-30s. And the other one was in the financial kind of business. And so they got together, put their heads together, and, you know, they decided that this was going to be their life. And it's working out pretty well from them. This, if you guys know this building, this is on West 29th. Detroit Avenue is like right up here. The other side of this street was a block called the Stribinger Block, and it was actually the furthest western end of a trolley car turnaround. And that's why that building, it had like a bunch of retail in it back in the 20s and 30s. That building had, you know, been activated by a couple that owns additional properties on the street. And the thing about the street for, you know, the 6 years or so that they owned that building and had it operating, the east side of the street was always dormant. This was an old machine shop. And, you know, it had like old pieces of plexiglass up in the windows, all different colors and stuff. So the street was one-sided. And, you know, the best streets obviously are two-sided. And so the biggest challenge from a planning standpoint was how to basically make this building as open and permeable to the sidewalk. And so this is the building was 13,000 square feet. Like half of it at the time was planned to be additional retail space, and half of it was going to be the restaurant and the brewery and the kitchen and the production brew house. At the time that they opened, they had basically taken everything up to this line right here, and they just now have that one tenant, which is title boxing. So they ended up growing into the plan before the project even was finished and opened. The space was pretty open, wide open. This was the existing building. If you guys ever remember seeing this, it was like this patchwork of glass. And I tried for a long time to try and save a portion of this and reuse it in the project. And the interesting thing is, you know, this project basically won this interior design category, but really this was like a half and half architecture and interior design project. Once they started taking apart this portion of the facade to remove this, this side of the building actually fell off completely. And so we had to completely rebuild. I mean, we were planning on doing it anyway, but we didn't expect the side of the building to actually fall off down into the street. So that kind of put a little bit of a wrench in the process, because the city was unhappy that the building partially collapsed during construction. This is the Detroit Avenue elevation. And again, we were basically trying to kind of retain and further create this kind of sense of neighborhood hub, which this is that Stribinger building across the street. And so it was very simple palette, brick, and, you know, storefront. And as we go inside to the building, it was one of the coolest things that I loved about this building is, again, it was a machine shop, and it had a couple gantry cranes in it. A gantry crane is the type of crane that slides along a horizontal rail. And so they can pick up pieces in one portion of the machine shop and move them to other portions of the machine shop, you know, a couple ton pieces of metal. And so it became apparent that it was going to be difficult to remove them. And so that really became one of the, in terms of the ceiling plane, one of the defining kind of design aspects of it. So we got those all cleaned up and sandblasted them, painted them. The space has very little walls, actually. The whole back area behind the bar is the brew house. And, you know, we strategically did that to create as much visibility to the inner workings of a brewery. This is where the beer is brewed in these 3 different kettles, and it moves from, you know, all this piping between these kettles. Once the person starts the process, they don't really have to do a lot until the beer comes out the other end. So it's a fairly streamlined process, but occasionally we wanted, you know, the days that they're making beer, which is like 3 days a week, we want that to be, that is the focal point of the space. So there weren't a lot of walls to actually kind of use to define the space or create interesting, you know, design elements out of. There was basically like 2 walls, this one here and another one on the other side. If you guys have ever worked in restaurants, you can probably feel the challenges that come about, because restaurants tend to have multiple owner players. You got the owner and the co-owner and the co-owner's wife and the owner's partner and the grandmother and the interior designer that they knew 25 years ago that they're gonna like bring into the picture at the last minute to, like, you know, modify your drawings. So every restaurant I've ever done tends to be like that in the end. You like, at a certain point, the project becomes the owner's, and like your design in terms of holding on to specific details starts to evolve. Part of that evolution is because, like in this particular project, all of this furniture was made by somebody in Cleveland. You know, all the panels for the bars were fabricated. All the wood came from another source. And we didn't dictate who those people are. The owner goes out to all their friend networks, and next thing you know, all this kind of furniture starts showing up. So it's a little bit different than, say, like, you know, 10 years ago, I worked on a restaurant on the east side, Giovanni's restaurant. It was an Italian restaurant owned by this guy named Carl Quigliano, which was a, Quigliotti, which was a, he was like an old restaurateur from the 60s. He's had 20 restaurants in his life. That project, you know, every piece of furniture we specified, every light fixture we specified. You know, this project was a different type of workflow where we as a design firm kind of set up the basic parameters and the planning of it, and the interiors were more of an evolutionary development, which is kind of fun because on opening day you walk in and you're like, okay, I did not expect that to happen, but you know, here it is. Couple other shots. You know, the back bar, we kind of decided to turn the signage into kind of a lacy element with all these piping, because piping is so critical and intrinsic to the brewing process, that we kind of use that as a way to kind of create that signboard. There's some kind of interesting things, like we had to create a seating mezzanine, and the ceiling was fairly low, you know, like 21 feet. And, you know, we had to basically squash the thing in there. So when you're standing up here, you know, you're kind of like right up in the ceiling. It's kind of like a little perch up there. Views of the exterior. This was a portion of the building that fell off. And so all of this storefront along West 29th is all brand new. And the back of the house, brewery area, the production brewery, during the brewing process, it's kind of a sterile process. I don't drink beer myself, but I have a few friends who are brewers, and working with these people, like not a lot of contaminants, if any. Like there can be no dust. So the back of house is very, very clean, kept clean at all times. Every surface has to be power washed. They come through like a couple times a week and basically power wash the entire building. So if you ever find yourself working in a brewery, water and water management is a critical part of the process, like coordinating all these floor drains and just the myriad, like a spider's web of utilities. You know, your MEP engineers are going to be, if they've never done a brewery, they're probably going to be shocked by the amount of piping and connections that need to occur in one small space. And that wraps it up.
Thank you, Jason. I know we're right at the tail end of our hour-long program, but a huge thank you to all of our participants for taking your time and putting your presentations together. We appreciate your support of IIDA Cleveland Akron, and we're very excited to kick off another Design Awards season. We're looking to further advocate and celebrate the A&D profession, and we're thrilled to be able to do so. Hallie, did we have any questions come through for our panelists?
We do not have any questions, Laura.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining, and we appreciate you taking your lunch hour to spend with us today, and we will not take up any more of your time. Take care, and we will see you all soon.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you, everyone.
Have a good day.